Hello good citizens, Ryan, mild-mannered chef here. Today we're making chicken tenders and sweet potato wedges. So we're breading chicken tenders in Panko breadcrumbs today. And although frying is a little more traditional and definitely delicious, I'm going to show you how to get a deep, flavorful crunch in the oven. We're going to bake these chicken tenders today, but they'll still be nice and crunchy. We're also going to hand cut some sweet potatoes, season them up, get them in the oven also, and they'll have a nice crisp exterior, but they'll be deliciously creamy and sweet on the inside. Let's get to it. Now the first thing we're going to need to do is get our chicken tenders. And the chicken tender is an actual part of the chicken. I'm going to show you how to get to it. Notice I didn't say chicken finger. Chickens don't have fingers. But they do have tenders. And every chicken has two tender loins. And I'm going to show you how to get to those. I'm going to break this whole bird down. All right. I'm going to flip it over to get to the chicken breasts. I'm going to take these legs off first. So here's what we're left with. Just the chicken breasts sit on either side of the bone. I'm going to follow the breast bone and just use the tip of my knife to scrape right along the bones. Don't want to leave any meat behind. There we go. Trim a little bit of that rib meat off. Alright, so there you are. Boneless chicken breast. There is a boneless, skinless chicken breast. And if you flip the breast over right here, and it'll start to come detached. This is the tender, so I'm going to use my knife to kind of guide that off. And here is a chicken tender. Brining the chicken is a great way to add flavor and moisture to the chicken. In its simplest form, a brine is just a saltwater solution, but if you're taking the time to put your chicken in a brine, I mean, why not add more flavor to it? Now, the most efficient brine, especially for something like chicken, because the flavor profiles match up really well, is pickle juice. I tend to like things a little bit spicy, so instead of just regular pickle juice, I'm going to use a half cup of pickled jalapeno juice. What we want to do is get our chicken into a zip-top bag. Carefully pour the pickle juice, or in this case, pickled jalapeno juice. Just get as much of the air out as I can. Zip that close, give it a mush. Make sure that the brine is touching all the edges. And then this is going to go into the fridge for an hour to 4 hours, anywhere in between that. So we have the chicken in the brine and in the fridge. While it's doing its brining magic inside the fridge, we're going to go ahead and build a sauce to dip the chicken. It'll actually go really great with the sweet potato fries too. We're going to need 1 cup of mayonnaise, half a cup of ketchup. We'll need a 1/4 cup or so of water, but we'll add that a little bit later. We need 2 teaspoons of prepared horseradish, a 1/4 teaspoon of fresh ginger, 2 teaspoons of Dijon mustard. Need about 1.5 tablespoons of white sugar. You could also use honey. 1/4 teaspoon of smoked paprika, 1/4 teaspoon granulated onion, a 1/4 teaspoon of granulated garlic, 3 teaspoons of black pepper, and a 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. Now the water is just to thin this sauce out, so I'm going to add a little bit of it now. Alright, that looks pretty good. Give it a taste here. It's nice and creamy. Nice little tang from the ketchup. A good punch from the horseradish and the ginger. It's perfect. I'm going to wrap this up, put it in the fridge, let the flavors get to know each other, and let's work on some sweet potatoes. So I've got about 1.5 pounds of sweet potatoes here. You could peel these if you wanted. The peel though is 100% edible, and I like the flavor of it. Then I'm going to split these right down the middle, and then I've got a flat surface to work with. I'm going to split that in half, and then each of these I will split in half again to give me wedges like that. About a teaspoon of baking powder, a tablespoon or so of cornstarch, nice heavy pinch of kosher salt, a couple tablespoons of a neutral oil. This is canola. You could use avocado. And then I just want to make sure that I don't have any pockets of dried rub on there. And then we'll place these on a sprayed cooking sheet, and these will go in a 400-degree oven for about 15 minutes. We'll flip them and give them another 10 minutes or so. So let's talk about panko. This is the breadcrumb that we're going to bread our chicken with. It's nice and coarse. It has a really good texture, but you can see how pale and white this particular panko is. This is plain. It doesn't have any seasonings added to it. We'd probably have to cook the chicken so long to get a good toast on this that the chicken would dry out before we had a really nice crunchy exterior, and that's not what we want to do. We want to make sure that our chicken is juicy on the inside, but nice and crispy on the outside. So what I'm going to do is actually toast this before we dredge the chicken in it to kind of give it a head start on that browning process. So what I want to do is take a sheet pan. There's no oil or anything on this. I'm not going to add any oil to the breadcrumbs. Spread them out in a nice even layer. And I'm going to toast these in the oven at 400 degrees for about 2-3 minutes. I don't want to get them too dark because they do still have to cook with the chicken, but I want to get a nice toast on them. If your oven has a fan setting, you're going to want to turn that off. Otherwise, it's just going to blow all of the breadcrumbs everywhere. Guess how I know that? So these have come out of the oven. You can see the nice toast on them. I'm going to go ahead and season them with salt. Toss that mixture around. And now if I left them on this pan is very, very hot, and they would just continue to cook while they're on here. So I'm going to transfer them to another pan that is room temperature. So I'm going to pour these out into this container here, and you can see these are definitely nice and plump, which means the brine has done its work. I'm going to move these over to a bowl. So the panko wouldn't really stick to this as is. I'm going to add about a teaspoon of baking powder and about a tablespoon of cornstarch. I'm also going to add oil. Now you could use a neutral oil. I happen to have some of this local olive oil. It's actually infused with cayenne chili, and I love spicy stuff. So we're going to reinforce that jalapeno brine with some chili oil. I just want to press it all over it, and then I'm going to move it onto a sheet pan that I've lined with foil, and I've also sprayed with cooking spray. Let's get the rest of these guys breaded up. So I'm going to put these in the oven at 400 degrees for about 10 to 12 minutes or so. Oh yeah. Oh, they're nice, crispy. That color on them. Let's see if you can hear the nice and crisp on the outside, creamy on the inside, and sweet potato, so rich, delicious. Chicken's done at 165, 163 I'm plenty happy with. It'll carry over a little bit. Tear one of these guys open. Look at that juice in there. Crunch on that's amazing. And all in the oven, no deep fryer needed. A nice cup of our dipping sauce here. So good. I'm so happy with that. Well, good citizens, thank you so much for tuning in today. If you liked the video, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment if there's anything that you'd like to see me cook in the future. As always, this is Ryan, mild-mannered chef, reminding you, not all heroes wear capes, some wear aprons.